looking.
Oh, I'm a peach.
We're all peaches here today because guess what? It's Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA and Greg Gagne. And we're live on fourhorsemannetwork.com. So, guys, feel free to join in on the conversation. Get some super chats in. Hey, you see that QR code that's right beside me right there? PowerTownWrestling.com. Be sure to scan that and take a look at the new TNA figures, which we'll be talking about here later on today, too. But we got a lot lined up for this week. Some really good stuff to talk about. I have an interesting spotlight we're going to cover. But let's get to it. Greg, Magnum, how are you doing today?
I'm better than Greg today.
Yeah?
I'm fighting off a cold. So yesterday I couldn't even talk.
Oh, my gosh. Well, luckily we waited then for this. So
I put some spray down and I'm ready to go.
I am ready to rock and roll. Let's make it happen.
The boss has been working his butt off, and all I've been doing is talking to talent all week, wondering when their action figures are coming up. It's good, though. It's good. That's why I had the bad voice. And I said, I can't talk today.
A lot of talking. You getting a lot of deals done. That's the thing.
Give the boss a call.
Give the boss a ring. Well, cool. I did want to start off. There's been some big title changes that happened since we last talked. Swerve Strickland is now your AEW World Heavyweight Champion after what happened at AEW Dynasty, fighting Samoa Joe. We've covered Swerve before on the show and stuff like that. But, guys, I just kind of wanted to get your initial thoughts about him being that new champion for AEW and what that kind of means. Magnum, what do you think about Swerve being the champion right at this point in time and moving forward with AEW?
Well, it was a right move for the company. I mean, Samoa Joe's just classic heel, and it filled that role, just absolutely perfectly. And he set Swerve up, for that big win that people wanted to see, and Swerve has got that. He's got the mojo magic juice that people look for in a champion, and in new blood. And something to kind of freshen things up a little bit. Very crisp in the ring, good on the mic, and I'm interested to see what they do with it, because there's a lot of big personalities there. Swerve isn't afraid to mix it up with anybody, so it'll be good stuff.
Right. And this past Dynamite too, he had a Eliminator contendership match, which is basically a number one contendership match against Kyle Fletcher. It was a really good showcase. They didn't start him off on the show, and that has gotten some conversation about what should they have done? Should they have kicked it off with him and the title and stuff like that? But apparently they're doing that on AEW Collision. Greg, what do you think about Swerve Strickland and what he's done so far?
Well, from what I've seen of him, he's got the tools. Mm-hmm. Good talker, works good in the ring. The people like him. And I think, if they had to, they would dislike him too, if he went the other way. Good personality. I think it's good for the company. He's got the look of a champion.
No doubt about it. I think too, I was kind of in between on the aspect that, hey, did they take the belt off Samoa Joe too soon? And things like that, because, he's somebody that was a big name that kind of was carrying the company for a good amount of the ways and stuff like that. Magnum, would you think they could have had a little bit more time with Joe as champion?
I don't say you've got to that Swerve has got to right away be just the new face of the company kind of thing. I mean, I think Joe is still so solid and so strong that he's in the mix, in the conversation. I mean, I can see those guys continue to battle, and because Swerve is that kind of guy that can take the punishment and all the abuse and the things, and it look realistic that he would be fighting from the bottom up with a guy like Joe. And I don't think that the business between those two should be written off so quickly at all, because you're gonna have a tough time finding somebody any more intense than Joe. And I don't like to see it just go, we've got to this crescendo and it's all over. I don't think it's got to be all over with those two at all. And if they were smart, they could get even more steam on Joe because it's it's very few times that you see the heavyweight title battle like really heated up when the fan favorite's holding the belt. And if Joe continued the assault and attacks and things and stuff to continue being Joe, there's still money, a lot of money on the table with those two guys.
Right. Greg, I always kind of think that Joe would be quite the compliment in the AWA, like getting him as somebody like him in that mix of everything, and like just being a credible kind of fighter, the way he kind of works and stuff like that. I bet he would have been a good top heel for AWA back in the day.
Well, I think he'd been a good one for anybody. I mean, he's got that look, he's got that movement, he's got the talk. He did a great job. I was a little bit like you, though. I was a little surprised they took it off of him that quick. But Swerve should do a good job for him. And like TA says, the battles aren't over. I mean, Joe's going to come after him, and they should really get a pretty good run out of that. I guess if I was running it, I'd try to keep Joe away from him, but still chasing him and him avoiding him.
Right.
And then for a big buildup, give it maybe 2 or 3 months of a buildup where Joe can't get to him, but he's slaughtering everybody else, and to a point where they have to give him another shot.
Yeah. Make it
build up. Swerve could kind of swerve him a little bit and put him off and say, no, I think, here's the number one contender that everybody feels, and I'm going to give this guy a shot.
Yeah. And then you build up to that anticipation.
Build up to it, yeah. And then throw it right back in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to figure out, too, apparently next week, who Swerve will be facing at Double or Nothing in Las Vegas. So it'll be interesting to see if they bring Hangman Page back, or they have somebody else that they heat up for him, maybe an MJF. I don't know who they could go with here.
Oh, you didn't hear?
No, so they're going to make the announcement next week about who he will be facing.
Oh, I already got the inside scoop.
You got it. You're the dirt sheet guy now.
Cody Rhodes.
Oh, there we go. Wow.
He's coming back. He's finally going to give it to McMahon. I got you. We're back in the AEW.
Holy smoke.
Wouldn't that be the best move?
That would be something. I tell you that much.
Cody back helping run AEW, and he's the WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Man, that's the ultimate forbidden door right there. Jeez, oh man.
Just a thought.
Just tossing that out there. Another champion, new champion crown is Becky Lynch. Obviously, Rhea Ripley got hurt, and she had to relinquish the title, which is very unfortunate. But Becky Lynch won a battle royal, and she's now the new champion moving forward on Raw. Seems like a pretty good move, I think, to put it on a top star like Becky. I think she was going to have some time off, but they had to call her in, use the bat phone, and get her in on there and have her get to work. Greg, do you like Becky Lynch taking up the mantle for Rhea Ripley, even though Rhea's out now?
I think I'd like to have seen it put on somebody else.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. At this time, I would have given Becky that time and let her stay off for a while, and then let her come back, get somebody really ready and hot for her, and then let her, then knock somebody off.
Yeah.
My girl Tiffany.
Yeah,
she looked pretty good the other night. Boy, she did a number on Bailey and the other gal.
Naomi.
Naomi. Jesus.
Wow.
That surprised me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that caught me up.
He called me and told me, you got to watch this. They got it on there. I had a tough time this week. I usually tape everything and watch it after, and for some reason, they didn't tape.
Real that happens sometimes.
Luckily, I saw that one. Well, we had a funny thing come here in Minneapolis. Thursday night, SmackDown came on, and I turned it on. I said, "What are they doing on a Thursday night?" And it was oh my God!
It was a rerun of Monday night.
Probably, just the recap of
Monday
night.
It was a repeat of the week before. So, but I didn't know that, so I shut it off. And then TA called me and said, "Hey, did you see that match?" And I said, "No, it played last night." And he said, "Well, no, it's playing tonight. This is Friday night." I said, "Well, it was on last night."
They confused you because AJ Styles confused you because he had the thing going on with LA Knight, and you'd seen a previous thing, didn't realize they had a different thing on the Friday night show. That's what it was.
Yeah, and when you get older like me, things I get really confused, and TA knows that. That's why he's the boss, and I'm the underling.
You're the facilitator.
Yeah, I'm the facilitator. You talk to the talent. You handle the talent. But he handles everything else. He does a phenomenal job with PowerTown.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, I know we will.
Magnum, what do you think about the title getting put on Becky Lynch? Think it's the right move, or should they done something? Maybe what Greg was saying, maybe somebody different or anybody.
I think they've already got it all in mind, and she's going to be the purveyor of moving it where they want to move it. They're always thinking 6 steps ahead, and I don't think she will be a long-term champion. Not that she's can't carry it and doesn't have the stuff in the ring, because she does, obviously. She works fantastic. I hated they had to kind of rush it like they did and just throw a battle royal out there, because I remember vividly watching Flair and Rhea for the title when Rhea beat Charlotte, and they had such a phenomenal match. So to see that title elevated to such a level, and then throwing a bunch of girls in a battle royal, and they told a good story with it and everything, and that's great, but it certainly didn't live up to even remotely the torch passing of a title of that magnitude. And I'm sure, like I said, they've got an exact reason. They know where they're going. They knew they needed to do it, and that was the best way to not have that thing be a long drawn out ordeal. And and because they're not going to have 2 fan favorites carrying those both those titles, but for so long, because it just doesn't make sense for storytelling.
Would you have thrown a Jade Cargill in there?
Yeah, would you have done Jade this early, or would you probably wait?
You have to wait.
The best thing in the world they've done with her is putting her with Bianca Belair, and those two need to be joined at the hip for months. So a little of that ring timing and ring comfort and being in the right place at the right time can wear off on Jade, because that's the best way to elevate her game, get her out there in front of big crowds with somebody who's a masterful in the way they carry themselves in the ring. Yeah. And that will rub off. Continue to polish Jade, bring her skill sets up, and of course, obviously those two could have stellar matches against each other, down the road. I'd keep that union together, as long as possible, because it's gonna pay dividends. Jade's the long game. She's not the we gotta get her here overnight. They keep building, giving her this strong presence and rubbing shoulders with the top echelon of the women's division like she is. She's going to get there. She's a big money ball player.
I tell you, when you see the two of them get in the ring together, it is electricity. You can feel it when they come down the aisle. No, it's a great combination, and two great ladies.
Athletic, beautiful women.
Good bodies.
Oh. Yeah, just on another level of like what they're capable of doing.
Really are.
Bringing towards the product and stuff like that. Both mainstream stars kind of thing. We talk about Swerve. He's got that crossover potential because all of the pop culture stuff that he's into too. But somebody like a Bianca Belair or a Jade Cargill, they've already kind of done that in certain ways. And I think them being together like that, it just means bigger deal for WWE moving forward.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool to see.
As long as you're talking about the girls, though, I tell you what, that Bayley really impresses me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the about her?
She's old school, man. She works hard in that ring, and her stuff is solid. She looks good, and makes her opponents look good. And my hat's off to her, because earlier I wasn't that fond of her becoming the champion, but watching the way she handles it, man, I'm all on her side.
That's awesome. Yeah, she's very good. It's like she does keep to the fundamentals of stuff. And that match on SmackDown that she was having with Naomi before Tiffany interfered, it was solid. Like, they were doing some cool, fun stuff that really it was a good starting point for her and her title defense kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Bayley.
My girl Tiffany, she's sliding up there.
Right? Yeah. Man, I was very happy for that to happen just because the connection you have with her. But man, already making an impact on what, the product is. And you can tell that they're going to put the rocket behind her because it's just pretty darn amazing what she's capable of doing.
She's very athletic. I mean, she's got a great background and she catches on quick.
Yeah.
I wish I could get the WWE to give two of the other guys that I worked with her. JDX is his name, and Santana Rampage Santana.
Oh,
and they're very good. I've been trying to get them hooked up with the WWE, and I can't get there.
They just don't look the same in that little outfit that Tiffany wears. They just don't look quite as good and plaid.
Yeah.
Hey, I wouldn't let them tie up on it. I showed her all the moves.
Did you show her that moonsault? I was thinking about that.
I didn't show her that one. She had that one.
Uh-huh.
But before my back was bad, I did catch her.
Yeah.
We got to start easy on this now, Tiffany. Let me catch you right here.
You're just okay. I'm ready.
You old guys, we got all the moves yet.
Can't
go anywhere with them, but we still got them.
We still got them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see where that all pans out, especially the draft coming up. Not the NFL draft, which is tonight, but we got the WWE draft happening on Friday and moving forward on Monday too. So it'll be
interesting. I'm going to ask. I'm going to throw a question to you. Where are they going with Paul Heyman?
Yeah.
Paul is going to just play the best advocate role that he can play because he's got these flipping demons, that don't care about the rules, don't care about any being politically correct, don't care about any kind of establishment or their own heritage, and he's just going to be right along with them.
Well, it seems like there's a little friction there, though.
Oh yeah. They're going to keep.
I don't think they want Paul with them.
Well, no, but they need Paul. I mean, Paul's still the glue that makes that whole angle and everything what it is, because nobody can sell facially and with his body sell and put over things that people can't feel. I mean, he's got a way of his storytelling is just not oracle. He's got the whole package put together. So those guys couldn't have the impact they have without the guy outside to register, sell it, do what he does. And it's going to be unique because, obviously, I would say the Usos will reunite and be carrying the banner, until Roman comes back from making movies, and makes his return. But it would be just, Paul will serve a better purpose being in that awkward position with those two uncorked guys than just jumping over with the Usos, which, that seems logical, but that's not the best for interest in the story. And, he'll be waiting for his tribal chief to return, so to speak.
Yeah.
I knew the boss should come through.
That's it.
That's why he's the boss.
Our Arn Anderson research guy, Andrew Hermes, says Heyman is the architect of the Civil War. When he turns on Roman will be the biggest babyface since Cena. Then he adds The Rock and Heyman together. That was going to be a banger. So, man, could you imagine a babyface Roman going up against Paul Heyman at The Rock's side? That could definitely get some butts in the seats, so to speak. So, pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't see Paul on the opposite side of Roman.
You don't think so?
I don't see him embracing that group. That's just not the DNA story that makes sense for the wise man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as dastardly as he can be, everything with him, he still plays out with there's still a stream of logic and history and loyalties, even going back with him and Brock. I mean, just to. Obviously they can do anything, but it's going to make, it's just going to make for a great, what's going to happen next kind of deal, because, as good as those two kids are in their little heat role right now, they couldn't carry that whole mic time by themselves.
No,
No
absolutely
way.
not. Yeah, 100%. Because those guys are just starting off fresh. Like Solo, we barely have heard talk, and then right after WrestleMania ended, he's the mic guy. So it's
He comes out in the suit and coat, and
right.
I have a voice,
Yeah,
and now you can't get the mic away from him.
Yeah.
right. Hey, before we move on, CB chimed in too. Have you guys gotten to see the new tag team championships on Raw and SmackDown? What do you guys think of the looks of those? Greg,
Did you see him, Greg?
Did you see the new titles?
I'm not sold on them yet.
No, not sold yet, huh?
No, not yet.
Nope. Different look, different pace for you there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Magnum, how about you?
I love the one that the Miz and R-Truth have.
Yes,
I like that
agree.
one. I like that one a lot. The other one is just too vanilla for me now. But the Miz, they call them theirs the world's tag team champions, right?
Right.
And the other one is what, the WWE tag? What
Yes,
do they call
exactly.
the other one?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I just think they elevated one more than the other,
Mm-hmm.
and the one that's got the color and the pizzazz is going to end up being the more coveted of the two. Just personally, I mean, you got heels holding the other two, and of course they're just both perfect, arrogant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they do a great job when they were out there with Hunter and just like dishing on him and like like who are you? I mean, it was good stuff because I mean, nobody could not want to reach out there and smack both of them like in the back of the head. I mean, it's just great heat. And man, and R-Truth is like just he is like, to me, one of the most entertaining guys on television.
Right.
I don't think they know what to do with him sometimes. He's so good that just they script and tell him, hey, we're doing this, but they can't be you can't control him with a tight leash. He is very, very fly by the seat of your pants and has great comedic timing and can work. What is he, 50 years old?
Yeah, he's like 50, like 51, 50.
Is he really?
Yeah, and I mean, and he has. It's not like he just turned that over. You go back to when Goldust was there, and him and Goldust were doing all their stuff. I mean, he's been good like this for a long time, and doesn't show any signs of slowing up. I mean, he is really comedic, but very talented guy in the mix, and I love what they're doing with him.
Yeah,
Robert, that one I like. Truth and the Miz. It's so off the wall, and it just captured everybody's imagination. And they just both of them do a fantastic job. I'm more impressed with that one than the other side. But
the other side, yeah. I will say, I was at SmackDown, obviously in Pittsburgh, and they were Grayson Waller and Austin Theory were part of the dark match. They had they put those tag titles on the line against Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. And I tell you what, that was the match of the night. And it wasn't even on television.
I can't even imagine. That'd be insane.
Yeah, it was great. And like what they did, they worked the crowd a lot more. So Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, they were talking trash to the kids that were sitting beside us and everything like that. They were really embracing that added element to it. And NFL player Cameron Harewood was behind Corey Graves on commentary and stuff like that. And so Grayson Waller took time to like talk trash to him, and Rey Mysterio fired back. It was just really well done stuff. So the tag division is pretty exciting. I'm liking that they got new belts and that we're going to get to see a little bit more, I think, of storytelling when it comes to the tag team division in WWE.
I hope so, because, well, with Triple H in there, they've gone back that style, and I think it'll all really catch on for them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all talented. I didn't mean to put them down before when I said I was miffed by it, but no, not really. But no, they're just, they'll carry it. They'll do well with it.
100%. I agree too. I agree. Before we move on, you mentioned R-Truth, and he's so great at comedic timing and things like that. Who to you guys AWA for you, Greg, obviously, and NWA for you, Magnum. Comedic timing, comedic wrestlers, and balancing that out in wrestling. Who really stood out to you, Greg, in AWA for that kind of element?
Who did?
Yeah, who? Yep.
Bobby Heenan.
Absolutely. Yeah, how could it not?
There was nobody better than him. Ray Stevens and Nick Bockwinkel together. It was another one. Ray Stevens and Pat Patterson. And they always had Bobby Heenan at their side. And the one thing with Bobby, he got people to hate him, and when he got in the ring and had to deliver, there was nobody better than him. He gave the people exactly what they wanted to see.
Yeah.
He's the boss, and he's getting his ass kicked, and they're all, yeah, thank God, I can't wait to get back in the office. That's our boss. We're going to kick him in the ass, But he was just the most irritating son of a bee in the world. He knew how to do it. He knew how to get under everybody's skin, and then in the ring, phenomenal. That's what there was a lot. I'm not going to put down any of the other guys because all those guys are great talents. But if you're looking for something that really everybody wanted to just kill the guy, it was him.
It was definitely Bobby.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Yeah. Magnum, how about you? How about NWA? Who really excelled at
Well, we had Jim Cornette, who was in his youth, when he was, before he ballooned up and got where he couldn't move around as well as he did a little later on. He was just classic. I've seen Bill Watts put him in a blooming baby diaper and shove a bottle in his mouth, he could sell it all. He could. I still laugh. I watch his interviews from TBS when Dusty and I took a little hiatus, and the James boys came and took our place for a little while, and he sold that he made the whole angle. He absolutely made it by his dialogue and his just insane impressions that how could nobody see who this really is but him, as if he was the only one that could unravel the mystery. It takes people like that to make any of those situations great.
Yeah.
And the managers always had J.J. Dillon had the same great timing and knew how to be in just that right place to be. Would it need to bolster the team or be the guy to take the hit or the guy to just change the tempo? Those guys that can work like that, like Bobby did, along with those other people. There's so many elements, particularly in tag matches. When you got a great manager outside, 2 tag teams, you got a great referee inside, and you got great commentators on the outside, all helping tell this story. It is like, you don't have a choice but to get drawn into it because everybody knows their role, everybody knows how to contribute. It's just it's a masterful thing to see done, particularly when it was spontaneous and it was improvisational, and you knew you had a conclusion, but the way you went about doing it, the commentators were sitting there just like the fan, calling it, but seeing it and reacting to it real time with emotion because they got caught up in it. And and that was kind of the little magic part of it that made that fun and different. Though they do, masterful, amazing things today that could have never been accomplished back in the day without knowing things were coming on. But it is still everybody out there contributes to that overall product, and and the announcers and the great managers outside and that referee knowing where to be at the right time at the right place are all just as important as the guys getting featured in the ring.
It's all important pieces of the puzzle.
I got a quick story.
Oh yeah, Greg, absolutely.
Okay, Denver, Colorado. Jim and I were really established there, and the arena's packed, and we're wrestling Ray Stevens, Pat Patterson, Bobby Heenan in their corner. Pat had been out for a while and brought him back in for this championship match. And when you talk about the styles today compared to then, Bobby Heenan was in their corner. All they ever did, Pat and Ray, they had a top wrist lock on us. And they would take us down by the tights or our hair. Bobby would maybe distract the referee when they'd pull us down as we were coming out. 8 minutes into the match, top wrist lock, no punches, no kicks thrown. We had a full-fledged riot.
What?
People trying to get in the ring and help us. Heenan had to get into the ring because they were after him, and all he ever did was just jump up on the apron a couple times and distract the referee. So when you get back to, storytelling, it's right there. I mean, that moment I remember more than anything I ever did in the ring.
Wow.
Because the adrenaline, I mean, we were just, oh shit, people were coming, top wrist lock.
Yeah.
Not a punch or kick thrown. They pull us by the hair or the tights and pull us down. That was it.
Man.
It was amazing. And I don't know if they could do that today. What do you think, boss?
Yeah, what do you think, Magnum?
I think they do it in a different way. I think, like, I take Drew McIntyre, for instance. The angle with him and CM Punk and him being the 5-minute champion. They do it on a different scale, in a different way, and much more, grandiose without the subtleties. To your point, it just took the subtle distraction to whatever, but it's still the same kind of ish thing. They just make it bigger, a bigger production of it, because having a guy be distracted and and think he's speaking down to and talking to some guy who's not capable of busting a grape because he's coming off of a surgery or injury or whatever, and then having all those circumstances take place, are they're utilizing the psychology. They do understand the distraction, the looking like the wind's getting ready to happen, and and all of a sudden the guy from the outside grabs the baby face and yanks him out of the ring where he can't get the 1, 2, 3, and he was just close to being the champion. And they do it. They just do it blown up times 10 on steroids. The subtle nuances they don't have time for, again, because of the attention span, the way we've conditioned them, what they're used to seeing. It's no different than going down the street back in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, and thinking what a hot car looked like, and you thinking, man, that is so bad, that's so cool, and it might perform like the best of anything that day, and none of those cars put in up against a 2024 performance car would be just left in the dirt, left in the dust. And things change.
What was one of your favorite matches?
My favorite match?
Yeah.
I had a couple. I mean, the I Quit match, because it was the culmination of an 8-month program.
Was that with Tully?
With Tully. And Tully was so physical, I didn't have to worry about, first of all, him being fragile and him complaining about the physicality, because he was very physical. And again, I liked that real intense action type match. And then and not second to, but not but different, was Nikita, because I still think that represents my best single body of work, the best of 7 series, because of just where we both were in our our ring journey and our skill sets. And he was at the height of his heat as that no good commie son of a gun that he was.
Bee sting.
And and so those, but yeah, you remember. Mick Foley told me one time, if you have a moment that stands out that spans a career, you're lucky. And of course he had the off the top of the cage thing that people talk about, all the time. And I've been fortunate enough to have a couple of them, because the one with Tully has been talked about for almost 40 years now. It'll be 40 years next year since that match. And like I said, it's not really the length of time or how many matches you had, is what you did that captured people's imaginations. that they continue to talk about, and it still holds up, with all this crazy stuff they've got at their fingertips today. So
Okay, let me ask you another question. Okay, when you had that best of 7 and you're in the Charlotte, did you have every match in Charlotte, or did they?
Oh, no.
It was every, like, 1 week in Charlotte, the next week in Raleigh, and
Yeah, we were all over the United States. They were all over the country.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, it finished up in Charlotte. It's funny because we shot the angle when I dropped I won the U.S. title from Wahoo, the Charlotte Coliseum.
You wrestled Wahoo?
Yeah, I beat Wahoo in Charlotte, and then I lost the title to Tully in Charlotte when Baby Doll came down dressed as a police officer and slipped him a roll of quarters.
Wow.
And then I lost the last match of the best of 7 to Nikita in Charlotte, and they were all sellouts. They were all, and that building was just so electric. So I heard them at their highest when you won, and I heard the worst white heat I've ever heard in my life when I got screwed over. So I saw both sides of the coin, and it all happened in Charlotte.
Oh, geez, how about that? We got some good stuff here in the comment section. Darren Staley says he was at match 7. So that's pretty sweet.
That's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had Ivan and Crusher and all of them. And the funny thing was with that, and again, you talk about things that you can't recreate. And so they slipped Nikita the chain. He hits me with the chain. He got the distractions, all the stuff going on. He throws it in the corner, and as Tommy turned around to see what had happened, and I'm laid out, the chain slithered out of the ring on its own like a snake because the weight of the chain took the tail of it and just took it out of the ring.
How about that?
You couldn't have done that, planned that in a million years.
Wow.
So it was very cool.
Andrew chimes in. He says, in the best of 7 was fire. You did so much for him despite his limited ability in the ring. And when they turned him face later that year, it worked because of what you did for him. Love, TA. How about that? So,
thank you.
Yeah, pretty darn cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Guys, I kind of okay. Magnum, TA, how come WCW left TBS Studios in 1989 and moved to Center Stage? Do you remember why the reasoning for that was?
Magnum? So there was a big movement within TBS to change the look of what the TV product looked like, and I was working with Dusty as his assistant during those days, and I sat in meetings with the people from TBS over in the North Tower, we called it, in this room that had this huge round table in it. I mean, like something out of King Arthur. And had all these people from TBS come and talking about the wrestling product, and they thought it looked too dark, it looked too this, looked too that, and they were actually right. I mean, everything that it's evolved to today, they said I heard them saying all this back in 1988, 89. So the TV people were thinking, what this thing needs to look like to encompass and be bigger. So, they made the move to Center Stage so they could give you the illusion of more people, try to give you a greater feel, because they used to shoot that. There was a stage on one side. They put all the hard cameras and everything up on that stage. So when they shot that, it was kind of like theater seating, you couldn't tell how big the building was. You couldn't tell whether there was, 500 people there or 3,000 people there. It shot really well. And of course, they went on to, then start, shooting in big arenas, all over the place. And Center Stage, slowly became less and less of a thing. But it was a transition, because when we shot at TBS, I mean, there was, 30, 40 people maybe in the studio. They were all standing in line on Saturday morning as we got there to, shuffle in there and watch. And it was a very unique little, I mean, Greg knows, he's done some of that studio, stuff with AWA too. It's weird not having even though they were very vocal and very excitable, that little group of people, it was still kind of corny compared to, going out and being in front of 5,000-10,000 people.
100%. Greg, talk about that experience. What Vern's perception was of production and how it kind of transitioned over time for the AWA, and obviously you guys had the ESPN ties and stuff like that too. But talk about that kind of process for you guys up north there.
Well, it changed quite a bit. The studio thing was great. You had a small audience there, and all it was just building up to the matches coming to the arenas.
Right.
So we'd tape it in Minneapolis, and then we'd send that tape out, to Winnipeg, to Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay, Denver, Phoenix, Las Vegas, San Francisco. They all got the same tape, but then they left the interviews. We had 2.5 minute or 3 minute slots. We had 5 of them. So then you do your interviews on the following Monday for those cities, and eventually it got to a point where they wanted a bigger look.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good for us with ESPN. They liked it in Vegas, and we did it at the Showboat. You didn't have a big crowd in there, but it was a different look, and it was Vegas. So, they really liked that.
Yeah.
And then we started shooting the matches in the arenas, and we'd play those back, on the TV, not the whole match, but usually using it to promote the next one.
Yeah.
And it worked. It was very successful for, number of years. And I don't know, somebody asked me the other day, and I in fact, a lot of people, if Hogan wouldn't have left the AWA,
mm-hmm.
what would have happened? Would McMahon have got what he got? And I don't think so. And maybe I've told the story before. If I have, just stop me. But we had an agreement. We ran our battle royals in October.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then the winners got the champion in November at Thanksgiving, or that week of Thanksgiving, whichever
mm-hmm.
cities they were in. And then we had our Christmas show, and they were always sold out. And Hogan had won the battle royal in St. Paul. He then wrestled Bockwinkel in November, Thanksgiving, didn't win that one. And then we had a couple other battle royals at Phoenix was our last one. And then Hulk was going to Japan, and Andre was on the battle royal. They were going to Japan. Mm-hmm. And that's where Vince got on the plane, signed him to a contract. Hogan didn't know what we had done was we had to sign a non-disclosure, Vern and I. CBS was going to do a special in April, a 2-hour special on a Saturday night. And the match they wanted was Bockwinkel and Hogan.
Jeez. Yeah.
And that build up, we were going to build up all the way up to that. But Hogan never came back.
So if that were to
I think if we had got to that,
yeah,
it would have been very, very tough for McMahon to do what he wanted to do without Hogan.
Hogan was a huge piece of that puzzle, the primary piece.
Well, he was in New York and was not doing well up there.
Yeah.
He came to I told him to come to I was up there in a match with, and on the card, and I told him afterwards, he says, I can't make it. I said, come on to the AWA, you just need some help.
Yeah.
We surrounded him with great talent, made him look good. But it took him 3 months before he called Vern. I said, Dad, we got to have this guy come in. And I said, I gave him your number, so he'd be calling. And we waited 3 months. And then he came in and he tried to do an interview. And of course, Vern was, oh, geez, this guy can't talk. So he helped with his interviews, and they got Johnny Valiant in there to talk for him.
Yeah.
And then we went to Milwaukee. And of course, he wanted to be a heel, a bad guy. And I came back from there and I said, he's not. I said, the people cheer him.
Yeah.
Even with the Valiant, as hard as he tried out there, I said, you gotta do something different. So put him in 6-man tag matches, and he had Stevens and Bockwinkel and Blackwell and Patterson.
You were mentioning that last week too.
Yeah.
When we were talking about Hogan was a big spotlight.
And that's how he got the feel for everything.
Yeah, so, got the vibe.
But that's all past, and it's changed professional wrestling.
Yeah, it really did. It really
did.
Really did. And guys, if you like that, we cover Hogan a little bit more in depth from last week. So go check out that previous episode up on fourhorsemannetwork.com. So check it out. There will be more clips to come from that. But also, too, I guess before we cover the PowerTown stuff a little bit, too, I'm going to pivot a little bit. I had a spotlight in mind, but I kind of want to bend your guys' ears a little bit more about
Before you do your pivot, I got one more thing. We can't go without this.
Absolutely.
Sheamus, Drew McIntyre.
Okay, let's talk about it. Mm-hmm.
Great storytelling. Great history between those two. Sheamus comes back, from a neck injury that's had him sidelined, and he's gained a couple pounds.
Yeah,
doesn't look quite as felt as he did. And that line about I can lose weight, but you can't fix stupid.
You can't fix stupid.
The best. I mean, those guys, and Drew particularly, has been, he's either been given some great lines or just delivered great lines, or he's got some hand in the creative of what he's able to do. But he is so good, and even at his own expense,
yes,
setting himself up, that it's just classic. And I so enjoyed that banner and that dialogue between the two of them and where they could go with all that, because what was it, 6 months, 8 months ago, whatever, when those two were just beating the dog crap out of each other and showing the welts on their backs and everything else after they had all those brutal confrontations. So anyway, the what's next and what all they can do, they just constantly peel back a layer and just show you a little something else they've got. Oh, well, we can throw a couple people together in a ring and give them 20, 30 minutes of interaction and completely mesmerize you with something else.
Right.
So I think they're just doing a great job, showcasing some very, very talented individuals that they have and giving them the bandwidth to really, really reestablish their personalities, get you back vested in the characters, relatable. I mean, I think it's great that Sheamus is out there and will probably in 6 months' time be chiseled again,
Yeah.
But it's just ways to make people jump on and take part of the journey, with them, and seeing, Sheamus, basically shaming Drew into admitting, hey, you just did a bonehead stupid thing, just admit it, just move on. Yeah, I mean, it was just great television. It's making me enjoy the product, more and more, and it's taken some of the huge weight off of putting all the expectation on coming off of the Bloodline and Cody and The Rock, and they're showing their diversity and ways of bringing you into all kinds of other storylines that are limitless.
I know.
Well, they got phenomenal talent up there, right? I mean, that's that group of talent they have up there. And like you said, that Drew McIntyre, I'm like you. I am a fan.
Huge
Him
fan.
and Sheamus. That's old school.
You know what, too? That is a story that you can play throughout the summer. And they have that Clash at the Castle coming up, too. Man, you don't even need a title for that. And I know people are like, oh, Drew should win the title there or something should happen. You could just have him versus Sheamus straight up, have a match, and have this something that really pays off. So good. I'm glad you mentioned that, Magnum, because that was a big highlight, big takeaway from me for Raw was Sheamus and Drew, and Sheamus leaning into the fact that he's gained weight and stuff like that. Even if you see on Twitter and stuff like that, he's like, if I win King of the Ring, I want to be called this. And then he's got the picture of the Burger King on there. So good. It's just like, everybody gains weight, everybody loses weight. So it's something that people can even relate to, too. And Sheamus, you look back at previous pictures and, oh my gosh, completely shredded. And now look at him now. And he's just having fun with it. And I know, backstage, Triple H is giving him a hard time. A lot of people are just busting him big time backstage. And he's just rolling with those punches, man. And it's just kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
they're letting their individuality come out.
100 of what you've been saying, Greg, what you've been saying.
Yeah.
So what I do want to talk about, we'll just touch upon these guys real quick. You guys got me intrigued. Is both the managers of Bobby Heenan and Jim Cornette. Magnum, starting off with Jim and everything like that, how much did he continue to kind of bring to the NWA product and what those tag teams he had from the Midnight Express and everything? How his influence on the business overall? What do you think about
Well, first of all, and it must be something about photographers because Paul Heyman, and Jim, and I had the pleasure several years back of being at a thing here in Charlotte where they had Jeff Jarrett there and his dad.
Yeah.
And they were talking about Cornette before he ever got a chance to do anything. And his dad said he could hear this guy just cracking off in the hall and just had everybody in the building wanting to kill him. He hadn't gotten the business yet. And it was Cornette, and he was just this wisecracking, irritable, quick-witted, fast-talking kid from the get-go who loved wrestling and had an absolutely, and still does, a brilliant mind and just this ability to want to make people just absolutely see him strung up somewhere. and then he got the opportunity to manage arguably one of the greatest tag teams of all times, the Midnight Express, in two iterations with two different sets of characters, and Jim just always elevated the game and everything around him. And what he went on to do later in Smoky Mountain Wrestling and his own promotion, and really understood and does the psychology of the business and what it takes to get somebody over, what it takes to get real serious heat, and obviously he's the greatest self-promoter of himself of all things, because he manages that talent 100% 24/7 almost to a fault. But yeah, his impact on the business was just stellar, and the fact that he was tied so strongly to the Midnight and the feuds with the Rock and Roll Express for those many years, and still out there running a very successful podcast of his own that is just so quick and cutting and to the point and on the edge of the razor blade all the time, and doesn't care who he offends. He's like the shock jock of a podcast, which probably leads him to not wanting to go out of his home sometimes because he's not worried about who's going to be around the corner. But his talent is qualified, and one of arguably the top, I'd say, 5 managers in the history of the business.
Yeah. How could he not be? In a lot of ways, it's just like what he was able to contribute to that, being that different element that NWA didn't have, and just him adding to that kind of thing. Greg, you mentioned Bobby Heenan too. What aspects, how big of an impact did he kind of have on the AWA? And obviously we've seen what he's did afterwards with WWF as a commentator, as a manager, and all that stuff. He was just so versatile, quick-witted, just boom, just really.
He was like that. I mean, there's nobody could get anything past him. He always would top everybody. And he was that smart ass and the guy that everybody knew they could hammer, but they couldn't get their hands on him.
Right.
I mean, that was the way the public was. And I mean, him and Jim Cornette in that era, I don't think there'll ever be two like that. I mean, you put Paul Heyman in there now, but what they had that Paul doesn't is they could go in the ring and have a match.
Yeah.
And sell it. I mean, they were cowards and everybody knew it, and they would play that role. But Bobby's impact, Ray Stevens and Nick Bockwinkel had lost the tag team title. And they come on the TV, and Jim and I were just tagging up. They just tagged us up, and we were just kind of getting going. And they put us in a TV match with those two. And we got in the ring, and out came Bockwinkel and Stevens. They're all mad because they lost the title. And who comes walking out with them but Bobby Heenan?
Yeah.
And that thing set that thing on fire that quick. They hammered us pretty good that day. They worked a little spot, and Larry Hennig came in and finally saved us and ended up turning him to be a baby face. And so we had 6-man tag matches with those three. And usually not a lot of Bobby wouldn't get in the ring much. He'd only get in when they're on top, and you'd try to you couldn't quite get your hands on him. And the people were so mad, but quick-witted. I mean, doing an interview, he would just stop guys dead. You know, the announcers would even be, those two guys in that era, and I'd put them in any era.
Yes.
Yeah. I was never around Cornette, but I just got the feel that he's the same type as Heenan was. You know, they were loudmouths, they were obnoxious, they pissed people off. And people knew they could knock the shit out of him. They just couldn't get the hands on him.
They couldn't get their hands on him. You had to deal with Stan Lane, or you had to deal with Bobby Eaton. You had Nick Fury, Stevens, Bockwinkel.
We came up with that weasel suit match, and that was the damnedest thing we'd ever done.
Yeah, talk about that. Robert asked that in the private chat here. He'd like to know about the origins of the weasel suit. What that match?
Well, one day we're doing the booking, and they're all talking about Heenan, and they all called him the Weasel. And I said to Wally Carbo, "Why don't we have a weasel suit match?" And he said, "What's a weasel suit?" And I said, "I don't know, but you know what a weasel looks like. You got your Polish guy there. Have him make one up. Put a big tail on it." And he came up with this weasel suit, you know, and the deal was, if I didn't beat Heenan in 10 minutes, I had to wear it. And I won the match at about 9:59. The pin. And then he wouldn't get into it. And the people are going bananas, and they gotta stick it in. And he, "No, I'm not getting in it." So we threw the sleeper hold on him. He went down, and the referee and I put the suit on him. And when he came up, it was probably one of the greatest things. He came up, and then he starts looking at the hand here, the hand there, and he got the tail. And then he tries to chase you, and there was vinyl on the bottom of the feet, and he would feet would fly up, and he'd take a bump and couldn't get at you. And just the way he sold it, the people were going bananas. He had 20,000 people in there just roaring, you know. But it was only he and maybe Jim Cornette could pull that thing off.
Yeah, right. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
We could each have their own separate episodes for sure, and I'm sure we will down the line with those guys. But I did want you guys to touch upon them real quick. I think I do still actually have a Bobby Heenan Weasel figure that I got. That was
I'm going to see if I can find it. We'll put you in it one day.
I'll be down for it. I'm down for a weasel match.
Yeah.
You won't have to put me that sleeper.
You're kind of a little bit of a weasel, you know.
Right? Yeah, a little bit.
I've been seeing you on Instagram, boy. You got yourself out there. You're good.
I'm throwing myself out there.
You're a good promoter. Good
right?
job.
Good. Got to self promote there. Robert, I'm going to give you 3 choices of questions to pick from for the fans. So pick any ones you want, dealer's choice on there. But before we get to that, let's talk about these PowerTown wrestling figures and the new TNA line. Fresh off a TNA pay-per-view this past weekend, TNA Rebellion took place. And wow, look at these figures. Jeez, anytime I see them, it's like my jaw drops. You got Jordan Grace, you got Eddie Edwards, you got Moose, and you got Josh Alexander, the walking weapon there too. Very cool. You guys go to PowerTownWrestling.com. $189.99 for the full bundle. You can get them each for $49.99. Very, very awesome figures, man. What a connection, what a relationship TNA is going to be. They're really cooking right now with some new stars getting in there and everything like that. Magnum, obviously we talked about Jordan Grace and that figure coming out there, but I think another neat one there is Eddie Edwards. He's kind of been a stalwart for TNA for such a long time, and so him to finally get a cool figure like that, it's kind of seemed worthwhile, you know.
Yeah, it is. And he's, like you said, he's a guy that's never had that kind of recognition and that representation, which I can kind of relate to because I went about 30 years before I got immortalized in plastic myself. But they're all unique. I mean, Josh's and Eddie's and the when all of the tattoos, it used to be unusual to have a tattoo, but now it's unusual like not to have a tattoo. I mean, Jordan's the only one out of that group that doesn't have tattoos, and we had to elicit, some amazing talent to be able to capture those tattoos and get it translated into these figures. And Moose is like covered. I mean, he's got a back and chest and abdominals and on his thighs. And we got some unbelievable imagery to capture all that to make it accurate. And they're just simply amazing. And years ago that technology wouldn't even been available. There's no way you could have captured that look. So they're all going to be unique in their own way. And the subject matter, of course, these guys that are, just representative of the TNA brand, is such a big deal. And Jordan is the mini mite in the group, but she's creating the most amount of noise. Let's just say she is killing it, and they're all doing well. But I think that it's cool to see representation. And I'll say this about the TNA brand: their bell time to bell time programming, wrestling product in the ring is stand up a product as you could want to see. Right. And I think they haven't got the number of eyes on them that they truly deserve, but the consistency in that product is a testimony to not only the talent and the roster that they have, but whoever is pulling the creative string juices behind the scenes, and I'm sure Tommy Dreamer's got a lot to do with it, and a few others, is spot on. And I really, I want to see that all those kids get the recognition they deserve, because they really, they're really given a amazing product that's a throwback to days of old, but it still represents, the modern moves and the modern stylization guys have today. But it draws you in really quickly, and it stands up.
Yeah, it really, really does. And I think anytime I do a TNA interview, I interviewed Santana just yesterday, and you always hear how great the locker room is and the dynamic backstage and behind the scenes is. And, if you have a positive environment behind the scenes, it's going to convey a lot through the screen in a lot of ways too, I'm sure. And so it's pretty neat. Italian, this is he chimes in. Where can I see TNA? You can go on Access TV, or you can go to TNAplus.com and check it out. I just figured that out. So go to TNAplus.com. You can tune in and check out the product. Greg, we got to get you the hookup still on that one. So we'll got to get you.
Trying to hook me up. I forget where it's going and what I'm hitting, and
yeah, right. I'm the same way. There are all these streaming services.
I can always find you on Instagram. I can't find anybody else.
Can't find anything else.
We got to hook Laura up, and then
that's it. That's the key.
Hey, I'm the talent guy, boy, and I had some calls today you wouldn't believe.
Well, how about man?
Well, I've just learned something today, and now I have to go on and look it up. And of course, Gogo got all mad at me, and I said, "What are you mad about? Don't you know what that site is?" I said, "I have no idea, but I hear I should go to it because there's some talent there that maybe we could utilize." OnlyFans.
What? I've never heard of that before.
I never had either.
What is that? I
don't know, but she won't let me get on it. So I can find out.
Yeah, I don't blame her, actually.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. I'll back off then.
Yep. So, guys, yes.
My only fan is TA.
There we go. What a wholesome way to tie it all in.
I'm his fan. I am such a big fan of him. He's done such a great job for PowerTown. He's been unbelievable. I'm glad I brought him on as a partner, because there isn't anybody better than Magnum TA.
No doubt about it. Go to PowerTown, scan that QR code, or go to PowerTownWrestling.com. Secure your TNA figures while they're still there. The Remco figures are gone. The pre-orders, you missed them. So
how long does TNA run?
How long?
I'll let you know 1 week before it's going to shut down.
There we go.
Okay.
He'll give you the heads up, but you guys better
They
hurry.
better get them now, right?
Better hurry and get them now.
Run, don't walk.
Well, with all these lines, they're always limited edition. The thing of it is it's a different day. These are all a much higher end figure than you can go in Walmart and Target and buy from anyone. So we're building something. We're making something special, and they all end up being limited edition. If you don't take advantage of this opportunity, which obviously you have to wait. That's the whole thing about this pre-sale thing, especially with the TNA audience. They're accustomed to, hey, I'm a fan of AEW. I can go buy Jazzware at Target, or I can go, go buy Mattel stuff at Walmart, and for the current product. And our product, our fans get an opportunity to buy something at what is for the type of product a discounted price, because they are going to wait 4 to 5 months then to get that product in their hands. But then they're also going to get something that is a limited production item that is guaranteed to be worth 25 to 100% more than you paid for it the instant you receive it. And that's not going to happen going buying those ones they're making, 10,000 plus of, off the cookie press up the street.
Right. Yeah. No, there's something to say about the rarity and the availability of these figures, and the attention to detail, like you were mentioning with the tattoos, and just looking at them just from the picture stand out. It's just holy smokes, guys! Secure those while you can.
One quick question, TA: is there anything left in the wrestling collection, or is everything out?
Do they still have?
I believe they've got some limited stock left, and they still have some of the variants, the uncirculated, as they call them, of Brody and Hanson and your dad.
I'm looking at it right now. Yep.
Yeah. So they still have some of that available, but and we've had wholesalers that have purchased product from us that, some of the Remco's things, some of these things you're going to see pop up in some independent wrestling stores, but again, it won't be for this price, because again, they're going out and buying it during this opportunity, and then they're going to sell it for whatever the market will bear, when it becomes available. So It's a word of wisdom.
It is. There we go.
I talked to Charlie Fez the other day, Lou's wife, and her grandkids and friends that she's handed those action figures out. They said it's the best thing on the market, and she wanted to tell me to tell you thank you for all the hard work you did and get her up those action figures. You sent her quite a few. I know you did.
A couple.
How about that? That's awesome. Yeah. Man, yeah, those are neat looking figures too. That Ultra Series 1 pack. Robert, all right, your turn. You picked the questions, 3 of them. What do we got? We'll close out the show with those. All right, Jacob Dorfman says, talk about the underrated match you had with Ronnie Garvin against the Road Warriors, Crockett Cup Finals match 1985. Talk about that a little bit, Magnum.
So Ronnie and I got thrown together as a tag team for the first inaugural Jim Crockett Cup tournament in New Orleans, and we weren't an established tag team. It was supposed to be Dusty and I, and at the 11th hour, they decided for Dusty to have a singles match with Ric Flair for the world's title, to add some more pizzazz to because we were in the Superdome. They were trying to make the biggest spectacular out of it they could, and it was smart, and put Ronnie and I together. And yes, we ended up in the finals against the Road Warriors, and after some really interesting folks that we wrestled coming up to that, and it was pretty cool. I've only been in the ring against the Road Warriors on like 2 different occasions. One with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and the other time, a little later in my career with Ronnie. And I'll have to say the guys were pros, man. They were fantastic to work with. They were, they define, physical hard impact. I think Animal might have given me one of those scoop power slams that he was so famous for, kind of like an amusement park ride. But but it was fun and memorable, and I'm glad I've got that in my memory book.
You're lucky you only have them twice. We had them a lot more.
You had them a lot more.
Well,
We'll have to cover them on another episode. We'll episode on those ones. Okay, question number 2. Greg, how pissed was Vern when the Road Warriors changed the finish with the Fantastic and beat the snot out of the Fantastics? Do you remember that, Greg?
I don't even remember that one. No.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Robert. Let's do them all again. What's another one we got going?
I don't know. Well, Vern had a temper. I can imagine he probably did, but
probably wasn't happy.
I don't remember it. I'm sorry.
Italian asked, what if Magnum had Hogan's spot? Would have been great. Magnum, you would have been a great spot for that, especially if they couldn't secure Hogan. Man, you and Greg would have been bitter enemies even at this juncture.
Well, the funniest thing, out of all the twists and turns is that when Andre named me and gave me the name Magnum TA before I ever launched Magnum TA, I had no idea what that character looked like or the brand and what it was to become. His idea, he was going to bring me to New York. There might never have been a Magnum as we came to know him if the WWF at the time had got me first, because it could have been a whole different ride. But that was the plan. That was the A plan, and the B plan was after Paul Orndorff left mysteriously in the middle of the night from Mid-South to go north. I ended up over there, and then working for the Crockett's. But we were such different characters. I was kind of I became more of a stone coldish type, heelish babyface character as time went on, and as I was really getting comfortable with what I was doing. And of course, he was the big theatrical, hero, and got he took the best of all his skill sets he had, and with the polish that Vern and them put on him, and learn how to bring that character out. And when you're that size and 300 pounds and became so charismatic, it was just a totally different look. So I was much more comfortable aspiring to be the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion than what he did, because it just was not. It was not that wasn't cut out of that sheet of cloth,
right?
So to speak. But I would have loved to work with him at the peak of the NWA and him, because I could have worked with a big guy that was limited, and I'd have turned him heel, or he'd have turned me heel. We both wouldn't have been baby faces when it was over. That's for sure.
That's right. Magnumania, running wild, brother.
That's it.
Robert follows up. Did Crockett ever try to get Tom Selleck and actually you together on screen together? Was there any effort to get Magnum PI and Magnum TA together?
No, the funniest thing wasn't that. It was like Scott Hall was up and working in Kansas City, and whoever was running that promotion was trying to make him a Magnum Scott Hall at one time, which him and I laughed, because we were together in Vegas at a show in the last 4 or 5 years before he passed. And he said, how stupid can they be? They're in this territory that they can't draw flies, and they're trying to do a knockoff on the baby face that's getting the biggest push in the history of the NWA in the country off of TBS, and they're trying to make me Magnum Scott Hall, and he did. He looked like a giant version of me. I'm 240, and he was gassed up about 285, and there's a picture of him and Al Alon on my Instagram, and they took a picture of us standing together, and I looked like his little brother, But I told him about it. He said, "Yeah, but if you stood on your wallet, you'd been looking way down the ground."
Oh man,
because I was starving. Yeah. But yeah, that's my funny story there.
That's hilarious. That's awesome. All right, one more here. Jacob Dorfman. Oh, wait, no, we already used that one. Let's see what Robert pulls up here. All right, Instagram. If Magnum won the NWA Championship, does he think he would have gotten a long title reign or a short one? Thanks in advance. How do you think they would have utilized it?
I would have probably held it probably for a year.
Really?
Yeah, I think they would have because Nikita was so hot, Tully was so hot. I was surrounded by so many hot heels. Jimmy Garvin is the completely untold story in what could have been, because Jimmy and I had just started an angle, and Patty was just flipping awesome, and Jimmy was awesome. And had I been able to take the title, Jimmy had worked in world class with the Von Erichs, and he had ideas just coming out his ears. He was just so charismatic and so good in the ring. And so, I mean, I probably, the way we were able to draw, mileage out of things, it would have probably been really hard for me to run out of ammunition of something that was really intriguing to work with for at least 12 months. There would have been money stuff and people just, wanting to see, those come together. Because again, Tully revisited, Nikita revisited, and untold where could it have gone with Jimmy Garvin would have been some serious programs.
No doubt. Yeah, I saw some of Jimmy Garvin's work in World Class when the WWE Network first came out, and wow, was I impressed!
He was good.
Somewhere out there, and I've seen it, so I know it exists. There's a tape of he and I where his wife, where Patty got in my face, and I ended up turning her over my knee and spanking her. Well, she wore those spandex pants.
Yeah,
that, very tight fitting, right? And of course, I wasn't exactly dainty. And she told me later that she had never in her life got spanked since she was a little girl. What she went through with me, and it was like, I had people 10 feet from me. I couldn't just go.
Yeah, I know. You had to make it work.
Yeah, she was lit up she didn't sit down just right for a little bit.
Jeez, oh man.
How did it feel?
That's for OnlyFans, Greg.
I think I hard-weighed my hand.
They were in the AWA for a while. They were fantastic.
Yeah, I bet.
Great people, Jimmy and Patty, just fantastic. And he could really stir up the crowd. Had great matches, and her at his side, it was unbelievable.
Right.
Yeah, they'd come up with stuff that I don't know where they come up with some of these ideas, but they'd come up with them, and they all worked. Yeah,
he had a little inspiration sometimes. He would have that magic cigarette that helped.
Help him out there a little bit.
Yeah.
Get those creative juices flowing. Real quick, Doug Myers said, Greg, will you please show your AWA International television bills?
Will I show it?
Yeah, at some point. We'll have to
I think I've got it upstairs somewhere.
We'll have to put that on air here. That's a little cliffhanger for you guys coming up.
Okay. Maybe next week.
Maybe.
But tell all your friends. I'm not going to do it for just a couple people. We got to have a big audience.
We got it. We have
Tia, do you have a belt at home?
He's got one right behind him.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to get a little details on some of that.
I got the blank wall.
You got the blank wall. What a canvas.
Yeah, I'm in a little townhouse here.
Gagne, the Mona Lisa here of the podcast.
I got Go yelling at me all the time, but do this, do that, get this out there.
Well, guys, if you want to yell at us, you can go to Gagne.Greg on Instagram. Yell at him on there. You can yell at Magnum at the real Magnum TA on Twitter right over there. You can also yell at him at Magnum_TA on Instagram. You can yell at me at Dominic D'Angelo on Twitter. And you can yell at PowerTown Wrestling. Go to PowerTownWrestling.com and scoop up them TNA figures that we talked about. More to come down the pipeline with what 2024 has planned for us for PowerTown. And yes, be sure to like, subscribe on the Four Horsemen Network and get everything you can there. Go to fourhorsemennetwork.com and hit subscribe.
I got one quick thing. You're on Instagram. I see you all the time.
Yeah.
My mother, bless her heart, we've got these albums, and I mean, honest to God, they're this high and that big. My father, from the time he was in college through his career, and I've been putting that stuff online, newspaper articles and stuff like that. So if the people like it, let me know, and I'll put more on there.
Put them on. I love them, Greg. It's awesome. Go to Gagne.Greg, and he's got Gagne.Greg. I was right. And check him out because he does. There's some stuff I've never seen before on there for sure. So,
I got stuff from back in the late 40s up through, and I put Leo the Lion Nomalini on there the other day.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Leo played for the 49ers, and there's some great stories about him.
Good photo. Yeah, I'll have to go check those out for sure.
Yeah.
So, guys, yes. Otherwise, PowerTown Wrestling, hit that QR code to my right there. And other than that, another episode in the books. Guys, I'm always looking forward to speaking with you guys every week. So it's going to be a lot. It's been a lot of fun so far. And let's keep it cooking, baby.
Keep her cooking. Thanks to the Four Horsemen Network.
Yeah, absolutely. FourHorsemenNetwork.com. We'll see you next week here on Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA, and Greg Gagne.